Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're well. So today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin dominance. We've been hearing about Bitcoin dominance for this last 12 months, more than any time that I've heard about it since I've been in crypto. It is a metric that we all should know. So we'll be going through everything, what Bitcoin dominance is, how people use it, how investors use it. You don't use Bitcoin dominance for trading, for scalping or day trading, possibly for swing trading, but mostly position trading and investing. How do we use it? All the rest of it, how it's changing, and what it tells us, what kind of stories it tells us. Okay, before we get into the chat, we've got Bill Noble with us. Hello, Bill.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Formation will be with us very shortly. He's just running a little bit behind. Let's quickly see who's in the chat. Oh, there we go. Formation's here. Oh, yeah, yep, that's right. Okay, awesome. So we've got Mike Volmer. Good morning, Mike Volmer, or good afternoon from my side. We've got the lovely John Legend. I hope you're well. And Alex Storyteller. So Mr. Alex Storyteller. Alex is in the my Telegram group, and he's absolutely amazing. He's always on top of what's happening in the markets, and he's always posting. Really, really good. And then obviously Formation, who's going to be joining us very shortly. We've got the amazing Black Hat team, who's so supportive, bless him. And we've got Chipper. I hope you're well. We've got Act 2.21, which used to be, I'm pretty sure, John, John 3, I can't remember, was it? Oh, it was definitely John. I think this is John, who's recently changed his name. Oh, here we go. We've got Formation in the chat with us as well. Hello, Formation. How are you?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry for the small delay. I'm here. I do have to make sure that I have sound, though.
Okay, we've got what's that? Francisco as well. Francisco Vala. Nice to meet you as well. And then Soul. We've got Soul as well. Good day to all of you. How are you, Formation? I know you were not very well last week. How are you feeling? A bit better? There is something going around in the UK as well. A lot of my family has some sort of virus. It's going around. It's doing its rounds.
I hear it from everyone all over the world at the moment, actually. Yeah, no, especially my daughter, actually, and she's still sick. But thanks for asking. It's, I don't know, it's just a flu, but yeah, it was enough to be floored for a couple days.
Yeah, so it's the man flu. The man flu.
The man flu and my daughter. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. So let's talk about Bitcoin dominance. So you have to have been under a rock if you had not heard of Bitcoin dominance literally every single day or every single week for the last year. So Bitcoin dominance is the percentage of what the whole crypto market is that's made up of Bitcoin. So it compares the value of Bitcoin to the value of all the other cryptocurrencies combined. So for example, if all the crypto was worth 2 trillion, I'm just making this up. If it was worth 2 trillion and Bitcoin was worth 1 trillion, the Bitcoin dominance would be 50% of the total market cap of crypto, if that makes sense. Now, if the dominance is high, it means that most of the money in crypto is sitting in Bitcoin. And if the dominance falls, it usually means that most of the money is moving out of Bitcoin, perhaps into altcoins. Now, people watch Bitcoin's dominance to see whether the market is more focused on Bitcoin or if traders are taking more risk and buying other coins. Just before I go quickly into the chart and explain a little bit about the history of the Bitcoin dominance, I need to quickly say in here what alt season is. So alt season is when the money starts to rotate out of Bitcoin into the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So typically new money flows into Bitcoin first, because it's seen as the safest and most established asset. Once Bitcoin moves, investors are in profit, so they take profit and they move a portion of those gains and they rotate them into higher risk, more spectacular altcoins. And this is what happens. So this is when alt season or altcoins pump. The total altcoin market cap increases and Bitcoin's dominance, or the chart that we'll see, it starts to fall. Hello, Mr. 60. I hope you're well. Okay, so let's look back at 2017. We're not going to look at 2013, the first Bitcoin bull run, when it comes to Bitcoin dominance, because literally there's no point. It was pretty much all of it was almost 100% Bitcoin. Okay, so this here is the market cap of Bitcoin dominance. And let's go right the way back. And you can see it here very clearly. Or like that. Okay, so if we look back at the last two Bitcoin bull runs, we're going to see that the Bitcoin dominance is already telling us a story before most people realize what was happening in the cycle. So here we've got the 2017. We've got 2017, which was Bitcoin's second bull run, and it was the first proper alt season. In 2013, like I said, there's hardly any altcoins, and the market cap was almost entirely Bitcoin. So as you can see, Bitcoin dominance before 2016, 17 was almost all in Bitcoin. There was hardly any alts here anyway. 2013, actually, the Ethereum's white paper came out. 2014, they had the ICO, and then 2015, this is how I remember it, 2015, it was launched. So it wasn't until 2017 that Ethereum and the ICOs boomed, and then we saw a larger, more broader-based altcoin season. So in 2017, here, I don't actually have a mouse. I'm using my laptop iPad here, laptop pad thingy here. Bitcoin started off very high, as we can see. Bitcoin started off really high, with Bitcoin carrying almost all the market. Then we had the ICO booms, we had the altcoins coming in, that kicked in, and the Bitcoin dominance lowered. And then obviously that's when on the other side you kind of get to see that altcoins prices started to go up. Now Ethereum has a massive play in this because the Ethereum market share exploded because people were considering on selling their Bitcoin, because what was happening in 2017 at the same time we were going through the Segway dilemma and also the block size wars. And here, where is it? Here, do you see this massive red candle there? That massive red candle we had on the 10th of July, literally, Bitcoin took a dump because in the media, it was like Bitcoin's now going to split into two chains, blah, de, blah, de, blah. If you don't know what the block size wars are, I have already done a live stream on it. It's really important, actually, to learn the history of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's only been around for 16 years, so there's a reasonable amount of history, but not too much, not like a ridiculous amount. Okay, moving forward. So as you can see, here we go. Now I can't even see it properly because my computer screen's like literally so far away. So November. Okay, so we got November. Now this was when, when we went absolutely parabolic. Right at the end of 2017 was when we went parabolic and Bitcoin just went up and we had the blow off top. What happened? The dominance dropped because retail and institutions were rotating the money into altcoins. We hit the bear market. We had a sideways action. Let me just drop it down because I want to zoom out. This is actually on the weekly chart. Okay, and let's talk about 2021. So here, Oh my God, this is so amazing. I get so excited when I see these charts. I really, really do. So in 2021, we started off at roughly, is it 70% or something similar to that? Yeah, around about 70%.
70%.
And then we kind of had all of this rotation and we went up. Do you remember when we went up to the first all-time high, which was in April 2021? What happened to Bitcoin dominance was that it went down. Here we had the China FUD, and then we had the sideways action. There we go, in between the peaks. Now what you'll see here, what you'll see here is that the last part of the 2021 bull run was not driven by Bitcoin. It was actually driven by altcoins. We had Ethereum, we had DeFi coins, we had NFTs, we had gaming coins, we had meme coins like Doge and Shiba. And that was all then driven by not Bitcoin, not the Bitcoin dominance, but capital for in the other coins, in the altcoins. Here, 2022, we had the bear market, and then we had the recovery. So where was November 2022? That was the Bitcoin, that was the bottom of the last bear market. And then we'll see Bitcoin dominance. If I move it this way, literally just rising. So we had the here November. So from November, from the last Bitcoin bear market bottom, we had it rising upwards. What happened here was, when was this? This was, is that January? No, that's mid 2025. Anyway, so we just had sideways action. We did have it going up, it's come down, and we had a lot of sideways action. What's really interesting, which I just want to point out here, which is really, I found it really, really interesting when I was looking at this earlier today. This particular candle, bearing in mind this is the weekly candle, this particular candle on the 6th of October, I do apologize, my screen is so far away, and this was meant to be the all-time high for Bitcoin if you base it on time. And then we had this amazing candle here, this wick here. So when we look at the last major bull runs, taking out 2013, we look at 2017, we look at 2021. My question to you guys is, what was the most important thing that Bitcoin dominance was telling us at each stage of the bull market?
Well, I think when Bitcoin dominance was just so low in 2022, it was reflective of the fact that Bitcoin was liquidated as a form of collateral in this margin unwind or levered unwind of FTX. So when Bitcoin dominance was just that depressed, it was amazing that it stayed down there, given that, I don't know, it was the worst kept secret in the world that BlackRock was going to do an ETF and that Gensler was going to be compelled to approve it because BlackRock wanted it. You know, I think back in 2021, you know, when Bitcoin dominance topped, it's a good reminder that, you know, you just explain to everybody that that's when ETH made monster moves. And, you know, just to conclude, you know, everyone's given up on Bitcoin. Everyone's sleeping on Bitcoin right now, but they're sleeping on Ethereum as well, along with these other big altcoins. So right now, Bitcoin dominance is in a range. I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but I think all of these big altcoins are very underappreciated at the moment.
What about you, Formation? When you look back at the history of the Bitcoin dominance, what do you see?
I just think I think that I see that it shows me just when to be in what and how confident the market is, because the people that are in crypto, yeah, if the Bitcoin dominance is in an uptrend, then they feel safe with Bitcoin. And not safe or not convinced about the altcoin market yet. So yeah, it's one to counter trade.
So we've got, with Bitcoin dominance now, it's different. It's really, really different. So if you look back at 2013, which I know we're not going to do, because there was hardly any altcoins. You just had literally Bitcoin. The market cap was quite low as well. Come forward to 2017, it was the first time we actually had a proper bull run. And that was mainly because we had more coins. It was mainly because of the ICO mania. It was mainly because it was the first time that we had institutions coming into Bitcoin, and obviously because of Ethereum. Now, for those people who are not aware, Vitalik Buterin used to work at the Bitcoin magazine. When he was at the Bitcoin magazine, he realized, look, everybody's trying to scale Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's blockchain is built in such a way that it makes scaling really, really difficult. So that's when he designed Ethereum. Ethereum was meant to be the computer of the world. Carry on. Sorry, you were going to say something, Bill. Were you going to say something?
No. I'm going to, please continue.
Okay, so Ethereum was meant to be the computer of the world. Also, in the 2017 bull run, we had so many issues with Bitcoin, and inside the Bitcoin community as well, we had groups of people fighting. We had the big blockers, the small blockers, we had the block size wars, we had Segway coming in, we had this bug in crypto as well, all the rest of it. We had the first major alt season in Bitcoin. Fast forward to 2022, there was a lot more coins. Sorry, 2021. I do apologize. Fast forward to 2021, there was a lot more coins. There were some really good projects. Obviously, we had a lot of scams, and we were not right there with any sort of like regulations as well. It was the wild west, but we did have a lot more decent coins. We had a lot more decent projects, all the rest of it, and we had a lot more money coming in to Bitcoin. But do you now think that the Bitcoin dominance metric itself is getting less clean? Because over time, things like stable coins, which are going to be massive, tokenization assets, and the size of Ethereum and some of these other really big projects are just getting in the way. Are we really going to see those Bitcoin dominance drop so much and then alt season take off?
Here's how I think Bitcoin dominance is going to work. I think if you have a fundamental legacy catalyst, right, that puts the particular focus on things like gold, that's where it is right now. When that flips to Bitcoin, you can have a spike in Bitcoin dominance, only because, if you have like 60 to 80 trillion in assets under management in legacy worldwide, if you put 1 to 5% of that in Bitcoin, you have a stratospheric upside target. So if there was ever a catalyst, you can have these big spikes in Bitcoin dominance. Now, I don't know if Bitcoin dominance, I guess it can trend higher if you had a bear market or you had like a multi-month decline. But after you get all that money flowing into Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETF, it's inevitable that the ETH ETF and all these other big altcoins catch up. So you can have an up move in Bitcoin dominance for sure. Yeah, you go to 62 in certain circumstances. But if that's in an up move, you're going to find these altcoins catching up like rapidly because they're underappreciated. So, I mean, if Bitcoin dominance didn't go above 60, I would not be surprised, even if Bitcoin went back to 120. Because, everyone forgot about Web3. You don't hear anything about it anymore. Bitcoin dominance falling is about the rise of Web3.
Exactly. And for those people who don't know, although we're not talking about Web3, Web3 is actually built on blockchain technology. So it's actually built on the infrastructure of crypto. So Formation, the same sort of question to you, is that metric, is the Bitcoin metric that the Bitcoin dominance now not as clean as it used to be, because we have all these stable coins and all these other projects and everything else in the market now.
Well, yeah, in my opinion, mostly because of stable coins, indeed. Because look, there are, I think, two misconceptions about Bitcoin dominance, right? One is that if you look what you were looking at on TradingView, it looks at the dominance for Bitcoin compared to the rest. But according to TradingView, the rest is only the top 125. So all these coins outside of that, and that there are a lot more altcoins, etc., they don't really add up. That's not really affecting anything actually. What is affecting it is, I think, indeed, stable coins, because it compares Bitcoin also to USDC and USDT, for example, the two biggest stable coins out there. Yeah, if you look at these two and you only look at the market cap, that's rising pretty hard. So it is very theoretically, but theoretically, you could see the Bitcoin dominance going down just because Bitcoin is going down, because the stable coins are outperforming Bitcoin. So it is an interesting metric, but I think it's getting less accurate over time. And you can find Bitcoin dominance without stable coins, for example. And I think that that's the chart that we should start to look at, actually, because this is telling less about altcoins, I think, over time.
Is that the total 3 you're talking about? Do you think that's more?
No,
Or
just
like
getting a little.
tether dominance or something like that?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, yeah. You can add up USDT plus USDC market cap, indeed. Then you see that market cap, but total 3 also, that's also including stable coins, right? And what you can look at on TradingView, and can I share my screen real quick if that's possible?
Mm-hmm.
I have to see where you guys are again. Yeah, there we are. Let me show you real quick. Share screen. There we go. There we don't go. There we go. All right. Yeah. Look, yeah, this is the Bitcoin dominance, and it's still an interesting thing to look at. You could see how it's moving for the last 8 years, right? It's making lower highs. It's making higher lows. So trend-wise, sure, this is the time to go down. And, the sentiment is saying the same thing. However, there's also a chart to look at, and that's Bitcoin dominance. It's hard to explain, but you basically take away all the stables from the top 125. And then it actually only looks at how Bitcoin is dominating compared to altcoins. And I think that most people look at this for altcoins, not for stable coins. So there's just a better, chart to take a look at eventually, because the stable market is just growing pretty fast.
So for those people who are unaware, with the stablecoin market, especially with America, I think they want to put a lot of debt in, and they want to issue bonds and a lot of similar things into stablecoins because their debt is ridiculously high. We were talking about it before, Bill, as well. Do you just want to explain what they want to do with stablecoins moving forward?
Sure.
Well, I think it was in the Genius Act, wasn't it? I'm not entirely sure.
Correct. So what the Treasury Secretary wants is he wants to effectively create money through mechanisms at the Treasury. And what does the Treasury do? Well, they issue government debt. Okay. Now, the Treasury is going to issue government debt to who exactly? Well, they're going to issue it to stablecoin companies. So say you have something as big as a Tether or a USDC. Those entities can actually create money, increase the money supply, or increase hot money in the system by simply taking government debt and saying, okay, we have this government debt. We have $100 in government debt. We're going to issue $75 in stable coins, right? So the more government debt they have, the more money they can create. And then, of course, this serves 2 purposes. 1, it gets hot money in the system. 3 purposes. 2, it creates a bid for government debt. 3, it puts pressure on America's enemies because they're all joining BRICS and they're all in love with, de-dollarizing the world. Meanwhile, people in emerging market countries are going to be like, I can have my currency or I can have dollars on my phone. No currency exchange, no paper, nothing. It's like, ooh, look, I have the dollar. And all these, the Chinese and the Russians are whining because I don't know who's going to want their currency, to be honest, even if it's backed by all the gold in the world, if you can have a digital dollar on your phone. So, it's demand for treasuries, and it's a very interesting flanking maneuver on, essentially the major enemies of the United States.
Mm-hmm. I just want to go back into that, especially with something that Formation said. Let me just share my screen, but I'm not at the right place. I know I'm not. Hang on, if I go to the daily, I might...
While you're doing that, Formation, what's the symbol on that? Did you create that yourself, or is that an actual symbol?
Yeah, no, it's not a symbol, but you can very easily create it yourself. It's I will type it otherwise in the chat right here, so everybody can copy.
Oh no, I'm on the daily chart. It is going to take such a long time. Go back, go back. Where is it? Here. Okay, so this gap here was when TradingView actually changed what they were putting inside or measuring the actual dominance of Bitcoin. I've got a feeling something similar like this could happen in the future, because I don't think Bitcoin dominance is as clean as it is. I think it's just getting a little bit messy. Too many things are coming in, stable coins, debt, all the rest of it, all of that lovely stuff. So I think that they might actually go ahead and change it again. And then if I go back here, okay, so this is on the weekly chart, and I'm like literally zoomed out quite a lot. But here, I always say I love the 2017 bull run because I love the way that the chart goes up. But as you can see, the Bitcoin dominance from 69%, the whole year it was coming down because a lot more money was flowing into altcoins, and it actually stopped at 37 odd percent. Then if we move forward to 2021, we can see even from the start of the year, it was coming right the way down to May. So that was the first peak. And like I said before, the rest of the bull run was mainly the liquidity from what you get from altcoins, if that makes sense. Are we going to see this again? Are we actually going to see Bitcoin dominance go down like this? Because now what we do have is we have the spot ETF. We have much bigger institutions coming into the market. We have the Bitcoin strategic reserve, not just in America, but in multiple other countries. We have countries now who are mining Bitcoin as well. Do you now think that there will be a floor for Bitcoin dominance in future cycles, so it doesn't go down as much as it used to, if that makes sense?
Well, there's no way ETH does not catch up. And you know what? If it's not ETH, then it's going to be something insane like Zcash and Monero, right? You're going to have, you could have privacy and transactional Bitcoin move Bitcoin dominance down by itself. I mean, if you had ETH, Solana, and XRP, that's one group. And then you had, I don't know, you had Monero, Zcash, and Bitcoin Cash all moving up at the same time. That brings Bitcoin dominance down. Right. Plus, I think once Bitcoin gets to, once Bitcoin gets to 250K, the market cap on that is pretty huge. Right. And it's got everything else. Literally, it's like 2017. It literally has to follow. I mean, if Big Boy makes a new high in this move, just tactically, it's got to take the rest of the market with it. It's got to.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Formation? Do you think we'll see Bitcoin going off a cliff when the Bitcoin dominance goes down, or do you think that there's now a baseline because we have all these major institutions? And I think retail as well is waking up and actually seeing that Bitcoin is a long-term hold rather than something you sell every 4 years.
Yeah, sure. Over time, there are more people convinced about Bitcoin. So I think indeed over time there will be less actual sellers. But it is kind of the conversation that we had the first live stream in a different format where we talked about alt season, right? I mean, if we look at Bitcoin dominance and especially without stables, if that goes down, it just simply means alt season. And I don't see a reason why it would not happen actually. And I know what people could think, like, well, there are billions of altcoins, but these billions, they are not tracked on TradingView for no reason, right? They just simply don't add up. You have to check the total crypto market cap on TradingView, top 125, and the total crypto market valuation on CoinMarketCap. They trace like 10,000 coins. That's a huge difference, but the difference in money is barely anything. So I think that that's not a reason for it to not go up. And yeah, last time we spoke about the ISM and all of that, and that just simply shows, like, do people have money to spend? If the ISM and everything in macro is doing somewhat well, yeah, people want to buy Bitcoin. But if it does really well and people have gamble money, because at the end of the day, that's mostly what altcoins are to people, then it goes into alts. If you look at altcoins pumping, that was perfectly aligned last December in 2024 with that ISM peak. So yeah, I think that, narrative follows price. We have like ETFs, but then again, there are now altcoins that start to come out with ETFs. I don't think that like definitely, it doesn't matter that much actually. I think it's just a matter of money flow, rotation, and it's the cause of a domino effect actually. And the first domino still has to fall, but it will happen. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Still using this chart though, do we think it's still a very good chart for risk on and risk off behavior, and then to see that we're going to get a rotation into the rest of the altcoin, the rest of the market? So is it still a very good measure of risk on and risk on? So when the Bitcoin dominance is high, people are using Bitcoin to store money in, because and then obviously when it's lower, they're taking more risk. They're taking more risks with other altcoins.
Not on its own, I think. I think you should combine it with a couple other charts to confirm it, but it's definitely a good tool to still use. But yeah, like I said, I think it's getting less accurate over time if you want to look at only altcoins, but it's still helpful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at ETH dominance, right, and of course this metric that FOMOTION just sent, I was like, yeah, maybe the top in Bitcoin dominance is like 65 or 64. His metric was at 66 and is now at 65. That is way too high. I mean, this is my opinion. This is way too high, right? I mean, this is traveling in like a parallel channel, and all you need, you need Bitcoin above 100 and you'll see ETH at 4,500. I mean, you understand when ETH moves. I mean, I don't mean to be ETH focused because I'm actually a Zcash maxi these days. But when ETH moves, it moves in like $1,000 increments. So if Bitcoin is 65% of the market, it's telling you that, again, there's not only huge catch up, right? But, Bitcoin should be worth half the market. It should be. It should be at 50.
Yeah, it's healthy as well, isn't it? It's having money in Bitcoin is actually really very, very healthy, not just for average Joe, but for the entire world as well, all the institutions and things like that. It's the only asset that's really been proven and is completely decentralized. By the way, congratulations on calling Zcash so early. I remember seeing your videos back in just after the just after the bear market, around about 2022, 2023, and you were calling Zcash then as well. So
legend.
Thank you. We waited a long time.
Oh, it's doing amazing. It's doing amazing. Okay, so we've got so we've spoken about Bitcoin dominance. Let's talk about altcoins. So normally what happens is you obviously have everyone, investors, etc., putting their money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up when they take their profits and they rotate it into altcoins because they want more bigger gains. Are we still following that cycle, or has things changed? Because I do know from I think it was early last year, ETH and Bitcoin did decouple, or I think they've decoupled anyway. But are we still following that when Bitcoin goes up, people are going to take profits and they're going to rotate it into altcoins, and we're going to have alt season?
I think, yeah, but it takes a little bit longer this time. The whole market, the whole macro, everything, it's taking more time. But I think that what you just described is human nature, just psychology, and that doesn't really change, right? And I think also that if you ask people right now, like, are altcoins going to go up? YouTube comments are going to say no. So yeah, right? I mean, that's kind of what it is right now. The sentiment is your only thing that you have to trade, actually. But if I can show you something, because it's also, I think, a matter of like people underestimate what's actually needed. We speak about like, hey, Bitcoin dominance should go all the way down to this and that. But it doesn't even need to really do that, because if you have my screen right there, then the last time Bitcoin dominance fell that hard was a huge alt season. But this was in December 2020. Bitcoin was like 30K back then, right? It's now 90K. So we don't have to have the same decline necessarily to get a lot of money into altcoins. And sure, there are altcoins that are higher cap right now as well, needing more liquidity. But overall, Bitcoin is sucking it up pretty well. And you can see that actually because from April this year, the Bitcoin dominance took a pretty good hit, right? But that money went mostly to Ethereum. Like Bill said, the Ethereum dominance, that was really interesting that back then. That shot up really hard. But there was a 12 or 13% decline in Bitcoin dominance. It was a correction and nothing more than that. And even that 13% correction made ETH, as a $180 billion market cap project, do it 3.5x. So that shows that if we really get a reversal in the Bitcoin dominance and it goes to wherever, not only ETH, how insanely these altcoins can respond to that actually. So sure, Bitcoin is now sucking it up, but let's not underestimate what happens if even a little bit flows through the rest. And yeah, that's psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Margin call.
Right, margin call. You know, I think when we talk about this, when we say people moving from Bitcoin to altcoins, I think in 2017 it literally was people, individuals, maybe whales, miners. Okay, miners aren't rotating to altcoins, but a Bitcoin miner was the largest player in the market in 2017. Now, who's people? People are these giant legacy institutions that are going to hoover up the Bitcoin ETF. They have to rotate out of NVIDIA and all that stuff, and they have to rotate into Bitcoin. So that's the Bitcoin to legacy is an altcoin, an alternative technology stock. Now, on these dominance statistics, you know, Bitcoin will go up and then they'll rotate in legacy from the Bitcoin ETF and they'll say, hey, what else we got?
Yeah.
And then they'll rotate to ETH, Solana, and XRP ETF, and even Hedera and things like that, because they'll be putting these things in baskets. Like, okay, well, how about a diversified crypto basket? How about we get original? Now, when that happens, you know, first you have, you know, legacy playing in Bitcoin. Then you'll have legacy playing in the big altcoin ETFs, and those will ignite. And then, to your point, people, crypto heads, will go and invent something new, something faster moving. Because that stuff will trade. That stuff can go up 40, 50%. But then the crypto heads will pick up on something else like Zcash or Bitcoin Cash or SUI. right? They'll pick up on something. They'll create something that legacy doesn't own yet. And that's how I think this rotation game is going to get played.
Yeah. Plus, it's a little automatically as well, right? Like, indeed, like you say, ETFs, they already have their altcoin ETFs, but indeed, they will probably move to another altcoin. But the thing is, these other altcoins are paired with Ethereum or with whatever. So if Ethereum goes up, they automatically already go up. Nobody even needs to buy it in order for that to happen. So, yeah, exactly.
And somebody in the chat was saying something earlier about liquidity. Let's think about this. So back in, let's leave 2013 because the market cap was so small. Anything could move the market in 2013. 2017, interest rates were kept pretty much the same. There was 2 rate rises. I think one was in the summer, maybe June, July time, and one was in December, which is so interesting because like literally they had the rate rise and then like a few days later, Bitcoin topped, which is amazing. I love seeing that. Not that it topped, but you know, we had 2021, which is really interesting, really interesting. So we had the Fed come in, we had the governments come in, there was Fed cut, there was QE, there was stimulus checks, all the rest of it, all of this liquidity was coming in, Bitcoin dominance went up, people had loads of extra money, all that money went into Bitcoin, and then it rotated into altcoins. And then we saw from the Bitcoin chart that I had up earlier, whereas Bitcoin dominance going down, money coming out of Bitcoin fed into the first peak. Towards the end of the year, it was very choppy, but we didn't really get to see that dump. So it was mainly new money and rotations in like altcoins, etc., driving the second peak. Coming up this time around, we do have the Fed who is probably likely going to cut rates. Now, they have said that they've stopped QE. There was some, I think, was it 13 billion? We spoke about it last live stream, some money put into the banks, all the rest of it. Is it more about liquidity than it is about Bitcoin dominance? And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Bitcoin dominance hasn't come down, because there hasn't been too much more liquidity. Does that make sense?
As far as I could hear it.
Yeah, it does. And then I think this guy from Bank of America who said they're going to be doing $45 billion a month in QE to save the banks. I mean,
hang on, wait, sorry, who said that and what is that?
Well, yeah, Bank of...
Was that like, because that sounds like a lot of money to me. Is that normal?
Well, they were doing they did 85 billion a month for 12 years after 2008. Okay. You know, and again, this is a forecast, so this is not an announced thing. But I mean, you know, once the Fed goes into the money markets, they had to go in twice. If they have to go in more than once, the guy from Bank of America is essentially implying they're going to go in on a regular basis. Yeah. They cannot allow all the things that are out there that are going to blow up to blow up. They just can't. Right. So, you know, and the market's doing the trade right now as we speak, right? Everyone's worried about what the Fed funds rate is. That's the overnight lending rate between banks. That's not the issue. The issue is, are banks willing to lend to each other even overnight? Right now, the answer, no. So, you know, the liquidity, the high-powered money that the Fed can push into the system, and then that's it sitting on $1 trillion that he can unleash in the Treasury General account. That's where the stimulus check money could come from, to keep it in English. So, I mean, the amount of money that can be unleashed into this market is unbelievable. And everyone's negative. Everyone in crypto is trying to tell us about the 4-year cycle. Let me help you with the 4-year cycle. Every time the Fed goes on a tightening plan, Bitcoin goes down. I know it does. I know the 4-year cycle is interesting. It's a good visual. It is. But if we're not having a tightening cycle, we're having an easing cycle. And the fundamental case for Bitcoin has been made. And the fundamental case to have a decentralized internet has been made. Why is everyone in crypto holding on to this 4-year cycle narrative? Everyone in crypto is negative right as a tidal wave of money is coming. I mean, it's kind of it drives me nuts. It's like,
we need them though.
right. But we should be the ones who are super bullish. And it feels like crypto Twitter is all down. I mean, below 90K, like what's that, 3 days ago? Everyone's all down in the mouth telling me the cycle's over.
Yeah.
Like, bro, it's the BlackRock cycle. You just got started.
Yeah.
Also, have you got anything to add to that formation? About
I mean, true. Like, I think that the biggest problem is maybe a little off topic, but is indeed sticking to a 4-year cycle because it topped 3 times in a row. And that's what people look at. It's memeable. It's easy to understand. And it's like, oh, it's in and we haven't had an alt season and then it's all over. You have to understand, we never went into a bear market while the Bitcoin dominance was sitting where it is right now. So even if you want to be pessimistic, if we go into a bear market for some weird reason right now, actually, I'm going to say it right here because that will be really, really weird, actually. But even if we do, then the Bitcoin dominance can still go down because people take their money out of Bitcoin and still put it in alts. So then it depends on your time horizon, right? Like, okay, maybe my alts go down on the dollar pair, maybe not so much, but it's going up on their Satoshi valuation. So just have a longer time horizon then. You make more Bitcoin. If everything is okay in here, you'll probably know that Bitcoin will be eventually worth more than what it is today. So then it's still fine. Right? In 2017, we had 2 legs of alt season. The second leg started right on the blow of top of Bitcoin. It was the Pico peak. Bitcoin went down, and altcoins on the Bitcoin pair went up that hard that altcoins on the dollar pair went up around 4x on, average, give or take. So again, I think that it's just the sentiment and the calendar that tells us that it's not going to happen, and that's it. Well, these are not the most reliable indicators, I would say. So I wouldn't worry that much. And again, it doesn't take that much this time. Bitcoin is 90K. Even if it goes to 70 or 60, that's a lot of liquidity if a part of that flows into altcoins. We don't need that much.
I'd actually be... Bitcoin's never been below the price it's been on election day. So let's hope it doesn't go below 69. Let's hope it doesn't go below 69.
Also, 3 data points, right? It's not that. Yeah.
But saying that,
it's not going down there.
Yeah,
it's not.
Saying that, I'm so convinced on Bitcoin that I would actually buy it even if it went lower, because I know it's the future. And like we were saying earlier, what's Web3 going to be built on? It's going to be built on blockchain technology. Oh my gosh, this stream's gone so fast. We'll leave it there. That was our Bitcoin dominance stream. Just very quickly, save the date, guys. On the 30th of November, we're having a Christmas party on the Crypto Princess show. So we've got Army Piper on.
Better to do it in December, I think.
December?
Oh, sorry, December. What did I say? Did I say something else? I don't know.
November. You already had a party.
So November, yeah, you already had it. We weren't invited, obviously.
I've actually got something open on my screen that says November on it. So that's probably where I got it from. So we've got Army Piper. We've got Randy. We've got Crypto Billy's coming on as well, and Alexo. So a lot of the people, we actually share a lot of our community members. So that's going to be an absolutely amazing live stream. But we will all see you guys next week to have another collab with the lovely Bill and Formation.
Looking forward.
Friends, fantastic show as always. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thank you for watching.